Hello, everybody. This is Paula Guthrie from Creating Purpose with Pau, and I welcome you all to the Spanglish World Network and Heart Network on Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores. While you download it, leave a comment because we love your feedback. The app is totally free. Zingo TV can be found and Google Chromecast. It can also be found in Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs from 2016 and forward. Thank you all for being here. I would love to welcome my friend. She is Makeda Alleyne. She
Hey,
is,
hey, hey.
yeah, she's going to be sharing her wisdom with us today. So I welcome you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. No pressure on the wisdom. No, I've got some gems. I always have some gems and some juice to share. Excited to be here.
Oh,
Thanks so much for having me, Paula.
you're so welcome. How's the weather in the Caribbean?
I don't want to brag, but I kind of do. It's like, I don't know, a solid, what, 33, 34
Oh,
Celsius
wow.
today? So, yeah, there's that.
Beautiful day.
But I don't want to off-put anyone that's watching that's like, oh, I'm trying to show off. So let's just say it's fine where I am.
Okay. Thank you. Please share a little bit about you so we get to know you more.
A little bit about me, just a little. So I'm Makeda. I am a transformational speaker, coach, and trainer. And the essence of what I do really is to empower professionals to choose courage, to cultivate confidence, and to own their freaking brilliance so that they can step into all of their delicious power, potential, and possibility. So that's what I do work wise at a very high level. What else is important to know about me? I am from Barbados, so Bajan to the bone, as we say here. I'm very proud, proud Bajan to the bone. Um, Other important things to know is my core values are fried plantain and body rolling. So I'm just going to throw that in there. I know you know about plantain, Paula.
Ah,
So that's some of my
aw-
core values.
awesome. So, how did you find the purpose to become a transformational speaker, a trainer?
How did I find the purpose? That's really interesting, actually. I would say that I didn't necessarily find the purpose as much as the purpose found me. So there was a time back in 2018 when I was in a job and a career situation, which on paper it looked good. On paper, I was taking all the boxes. I was doing everything right. You know, the job title was sweet, the salary was sweeter. But yet on the inside, the only way to describe it was that I was broken. I was totally broken. And the transformation came really at a point in time when I found myself holding a bottle of antidepressants with my name on it because I had burnt out, had a breakdown, was suffering from severe stress, anxiety, and depression. So following on from kind of being that moment where I'm staring at these antidepressants and going, this isn't me. Like, how did I get here? That really was like a shock to the system. And that was the moment where I made a choice. I made a choice because I recognized that the life that I was living, even though it looked great on paper, it wasn't my own. It wasn't what made me happy. It wasn't what lit my soul on fire. It wasn't what I was excited to do every day. And really, it's the moment that I realized that I was the one in control of my life and that no one was coming to save me. That's when things started to change for me. That's when my transformation, as it were, really started to happen. So, in terms of what I really learned how to stop letting society define what success meant to me and recognize that I could define it on my own terms. I learned how to stop settling for the familiar when what I really wanted was the fantastic. And I learned how to stop letting fear, self doubt, and uncertainty cause me to settle. caused me to settle. And the takeaway and the transformation really came from recognizing or finding out what it is that brought me joy. So you talked about my purpose in terms of a keynote speaker. I didn't even start with purpose. I really started with joy because I was so unhappy for so long. And you know, sometimes we have a tendency to think when we're unhappy and yet things look good on the outside. Hello, like, you know, we should just be grateful. We should just be grateful that we have a good job. We should just be grateful that we had this nice salary. We should just be grateful because, I don't know, whatever it is, there are other people that are worse off. All of this kind of chatter in our head, yeah? So it was really difficult for me to make the choice to be like, do you know what? Screw that. I want to choose joy. So that started my transformation of figuring out, okay, what is it that brings me joy? What is it that I love to do? What is it that I'm great at? What is it that really stirs me in my soul? What is my divine assignment? I talk about my divine assignment and divine calling. And that led me to the path of, you know, starting my own business where I coach and train diverse professionals across the globe and also speak. I was born to be on stage, Paula. I was born to be on stage. There's a
I
little
believe
something in
you.
me.
I believe you. You have a beautiful charisma, sense of humor. And you just, you know, you share your life really easy. And then yes, you were born to be on the stage and share your life with everybody because you have no, you know, you don't put any effort. It's like it's just
Oh,
you.
that's very kind of you. But you know
Yeah.
what it is? I said that I was born to be on stage, but it really isn't anything about me. Because when you have a divine calling or assignment on your life, it isn't as if I could ever go back to doing something else. It was as if someone switched on a light in my brain and it was like, aha, like a spotlight on it. This is what it is. This is what it is. Actually, no, that's not entirely true. It wasn't this is what it is. It was more, this is the impact you were called to make. That's the difference. So then knowing the impact, then it's okay, how do I go about doing that? So I kind of joked to saying I was born to be on stage. Yes, I do believe that I actually was. That I actually
I
was.
believe it
But
too.
but also it is my mission, my purpose, what gets me excited, what I live for is what I shared around helping professionals, individuals to transform how they view themselves, to drastically transform how they view themselves and what they're capable of and what's possible for them and what they deserve so that they can step into and claim their power, potential, and possibility. So for me, it isn't even a question of should I go back to doing something else? Like this message needs to be shared, you know?
Yes, but did you ever doubt yourself? Because sometimes whenever, like just from experience,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when you know it is a divine calling, but then you're shifting. You have to make a professional shift. You have to
Mm-hmm.
make a shift in your life. You also deal with, you know, uh, guilt.
Mm-hmm.
It could be like imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
the fear of success, fear of failing, fear of
Hello.
rejection for people being like, what is she doing? You know, like she hit her head or
Mm-hmm.
something. Uh, did you experience any of this maybe self-doubt, or you just it was like something stronger than yourself and you're like, I'm going for it?
All of the above.
Oh,
All of the above. It would
okay,
be
I'm not
so
alone
nice.
then.
Yes, you are not alone. You are not alone.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
it'll be so nice when you hear people talking about transformations and then I left that job and I found my purpose and I started. No,
Yeah.
no. The real tea is that after I left, I knew I had that divine calling on my life, but sometimes we have such deeply ingrained beliefs about what success looks like that it can be hard, it can be challenging to break out of those. If you know what I'm talking about, Paula. So
Yeah.
the reality is, after I left, you know, you leave your job, you're excited. After 1 month of Prosecco in the parks of London, after 1 month of, you know, bottomless brunches, after 1 month of, you know, relaxing with my friends and going to Notting Hill Carnival, after a month of that, all of a sudden the voice in my head shifted from excitement about this new divine calling to what the hell have you done, Makeda? And then it was, maybe I should go back to what I did before. Maybe I should just get another job. Maybe that wasn't really God I was hearing. Maybe that was just me that wanted to leave and was fed up of where I was. So I think when it comes to making any decision, and I'm talking about career because initially it was, for me, it was career related. If you're making any transformation to yourself, be it within your career, family life, mental health, physical health, as long as you're challenging yourself to go out of the norm, as long as you're challenging yourself to step out of your comfort zone, as long as you're challenging yourself to do something new, the fear, the imposter syndrome, the doubt, it is going to show up. As long as you're growing, that's going to be there. But the key, and what I work with my clients on, whether it's organizations or individuals, is understanding how to powerfully move past the fear, uncertainty, and self-doubt in order to achieve what you want to achieve. So I always say the reality is I was my very first student. I was my very
Yes.
first client, my very first customer. So it's all of those lessons learned that I bring to my clients that I work with.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing because, we don't want to give the impression that you just
Mm.
had a divine calling and then you went for it, because there is struggles within, pursuing that, because we're
Mhm.
humans, and it's like automatically we get this. At first is the emotion and the excitement. You're like, oh yeah, this is
Mhm.
gonna be amazing, and I'm gonna serve, millions of people, and I can write a book, and you begin, your
Yes.
mind takes you to a very wonderful place of what the good things that could be. And then
Mhm.
after a
Mhm.
while, the excitement goes away, because that's just how our,
Mhm.
our, our body works. And then if we allow it, then self-doubt, oh, well, never mind. What if you begin just
Yeah.
to shift the other way, because it might not
Mhm.
work
Mhm.
out. And it's just our psychology kicks in. And I just want to make awareness that it is normal, that we
Mhm.
all go through the imposter syndrome, the fear of success, fear of failure, fear of rejection,
Mhm. Mhm.
procrastination.
Hello.
So, yes,
Yeah,
yes. So,
and if I could add to that as well, Paula, I'll share what worked for me, and this is one of the things that I have worked a lot with my clients on, which is at those moments when you are feeling that doubt, that fear, and uncertainty. If you have made a transition, one of the key things that can help ground you in the absence of motivation or the absence of fear is the presence of your vision and the presence of your big why. So when there's that doubt and fear, it is okay, why do I want to make this transformation? And when I say why, it's not just like, for example, oh, I want to make more money. I'm like, that's not your why. That's a reason. You're to get to your why. I always ask the follow-up question, which would allow you to do what? So I had this client that said, oh, she wants to change jobs. She was very stressed and unfulfilled. And she said, Vicki, I really want to change jobs. She wanted help pivoting her career. And what was the why? It's just like, I really want more money. I don't feel as if I am being paid adequately. And I was just like, okay, but which would allow you to do what? Because that isn't the why. You with me? It's not, that's not like the real root of why you want to make a change. And she said, well, it would allow me to, have more time at home with my family. Now that sounds a little, that sounds a little
yes,
better. Okay, well, which would allow you to do what? To strengthen my relationship with my husband and to spend more time, more present time with my kids. So then all of a sudden, the shift went from I am putting myself out there in the face of my fears and doubts in order to get more money to I'm doing it because, to spend more time with my family and spend more time with my children. And that really can powerfully shift your motivation. So I say, if you don't have a vision or if you don't have a why, that's such a powerful starting place, because let's be honest, let's be honest, Paula, motivation can change.
oh yes,
Motivation can shift when you are relying, or when we are relying on internal motivation. That can go up and down and up and down in terms of how much it pulls you. But what doesn't really shift is the pull of your vision. So when you're able to articulate that precisely, when you're able to link it to your personal values, when you're able to tap into that, then what happens is you're compelled to take action. You want to take action. So when you look at your current situation, what happens then is you stop relying on being pushed away from what isn't working and start relying on being pulled towards the type of life that you want.
I love that. Yes, thanks for saying that.
Mm.
It is a pull. And what I've learned is like if your why is not big enough, like if why
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make you cry, then it's not big enough
Ooh,
because it has to be like your why has to be within your heart. And
if
then,
your why
like,
doesn't make you cry, I like that.
yes, that's one of the things I've learned at the very beginning. If your why does not make you cry, then
Mm-hmm.
it's not big enough. Try again.
Mm-hmm.
In
Mm-hmm.
order for you to,
Tears of joy. Tears of joy,
yes,
not
tears
like,
of joy.
okay.
Yes, 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 tears of joy. Where it's like, I'm going after this because it's bigger than
Mm-hmm.
yourself. It has to be
Mm-hmm.
bigger than yourself in order for you to push through barriers, push through the fear of rejection, the fear of success, the fear of, failing. Uh, so it has to be big, bigger than yourself. So thanks for sharing. Now, how would you define courage?
Courage. I would define courage as the ability to take action even in the face of fear. The ability to take action even in the face of fear. So you can't talk about courage without talking about fear. You know, courage only exists because of the presence of fear. Without fear, there would be no courage. So that's how I tend to describe courage: the ability to act even in the face of fears. Yeah. And there's so many fears. As you mentioned, a few: fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, fear of criticism, which is a big one when I work with people around leadership development. Fear of getting started. Oh goodness, that's a big one. We touched on procrastination. So all of those fears, the antidote to fear is action. And action takes what? Takes courage.
Courage. So how could you
Mm.
invite us to choose courage, even in the times where,
Mhm.
we feel the fear is taking over?
How could I invite you to choose courage? I say this: fear is usually, not usually, fear is always there to teach us something. Fear is always there to teach us something, because that fear really is, we talk about the fight or flight. So when you feel fear, it really is because it's like almost like your brain's way of trying to keep you safe. It's just like, oh, no, 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 don't go to your comfort zone. There's nothing good for you out there. You need to
Yes.
stay in this box and do what you've always done, see what you've always seen, and get what you've always got. So fear just wants to keep you safe. So in terms of developing courage, I talk about, or I speak to the importance of figuring out what your specific fear is there to teach you. So let's say the example of, you talked about, let's say fear of judgment. Let's say you want to start putting yourself out there. Let's say in your career, you want to start volunteering or going for new projects or speaking in board meetings or whatever that is. You want to start putting yourself out there, but you feel this fear of judgment, fear of, using your voice. Well, maybe that fear is there to teach you that you need to start caring less about what other people think and start trusting yourself more. So let's say you have a fear of failure. Well, maybe that fear keeps coming up for you time and time again because you need to possibly understand what you think failure says about you as a person. Again, fear of success. Oh, what if I actually do it? I had a client that talked about her fear of success of making money, and then we unearthed where that was coming from. And it boiled down to, okay, maybe you have a fear of, maybe you need to work on rather how much happiness, joy, abundance, and opportunities you think you're capable of or you think you deserve. So I say fear is always there to teach you a lesson. So in terms of cultivating courage, choosing courage, courage can only be built by taking action in the face of fear. You have to do stuff. You can't sit and plan. You cannot watch a TED talk. You cannot get an Excel sheet going. You cannot read a book and develop courage. Courage takes action. Courage is action. So in order to actually cultivate it and to grow it, you need to start taking action. Full stop, the end, period. Now here's the key. Because fear can feel so overwhelming, it's like, you caught that face, Paula? Wait, let me give you
Yes.
again. It's like, what? So the key is sometimes we look to the top of the mountaintop and it is so scary. How the hell can I ever get there? Well, you get there one step at a time. So it's the courage to take the first step. And then once you've taken that first step and you recognize, okay, I'm still here, I'm still standing. Okay, well, now let me have the courage to take the other step. And that's how you get to the top of the mountain. It's literally through taking small, consistent, and brave steps. That's really the base. I'm not going to go into all of the framework and theory behind it, but that really is the base of how to choose courage in the face of fear.
And it helps you to grow. You
Mm-hmm,
become, you become a better at the skill that you are working on because
mm-hmm,
you're
mm-hmm,
choosing courage. You're like, yeah, I'm afraid, but I'm gonna dance with fear,
mm-hmm,
with the
mm-hmm.
antidote of courage, and it's like taking action. And then once you take a couple of steps, maybe at the first, you realize, oh, it wasn't that bad.
Exactly.
It
And
was
not
all in
only
my
was it
mind.
not that bad, yeah, it was all in your mind. Not only was it not that bad, but also it's through the action that we learn about ourselves. It's through the action that we grow and develop. We don't grow and develop when things are going perfectly and swimmingly and you're at the top of the mountaintop. You develop in the journey. The journey is where you learn about yourself. The journey is where you learn what you're made of, what you're capable of. The journey is where you figure out what kind of man or woman or person you actually are. And also, you talked about growth. The journey is where you figure out what works and what doesn't.
Mhm.
You can
Yes.
only know what works and what doesn't once you start taking action. You might, oh, I did that. Oh, wait, that didn't work. Maybe the next time I need to tweak it and approach it. That's how you
Yeah.
grow. So as long as you want to grow, the antidote to
Yeah.
fear is action.
Yes. I'm glad you shared that because one of the things I've learned from
Hmm.
Makeda is that she's like, oh, I wonder what's going to, happen if I do this. Oh, I wonder
Hmm.
if, but it's
Hmm.
like you tilt it to being curious versus,
Curiosity.
yeah,
Hmm.
curiosity with that question, that simple question. And that
Hmm.
simple question plays a huge role with our brain health because you're teaching your brain to see beyond what's going
Hmm.
on right now. You're like you're moving the attention from fear mode to like, oh, you relax and you begin to wonder, I wonder what would happen
I
if I
wonder what.
change this or if I do that.
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, it's like I learned that from you. You When I heard you last time, I was like, oh, that's so brilliant. So
Thank you. That's so funny because if you look at children that haven't done things before or don't or aren't have like, I don't know, 20, 30 years of, fear and, of life kind of on them. What did it? Oh, wait, let me try to ride this bicycle. What happens if I do this? What happens if I try to skip? Or what, it's that sense of curiosity, which we can very often lose as we become adults because we don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to look stupid. We don't want to do it wrong. So introducing the element of curiosity is a super powerful technique with regards to courage because it kind of, as you said, it tricks your brain or it helps your brain to think about things a different way instead of, oh God, I'm so scared of doing the presentation. Or I wonder what will happen if on Wednesday I volunteer to do the presentation in the meeting.
yeah,
And it's just like, oh, I wonder what will happen.
yeah,
Let's figure out. Yeah.
yeah.
Then
Wonder
you
what
do it
we'll
and you
learn.
find out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder what type of feedback I'll get. Yeah,
Yeah. It
it
just
is.
reframes it in your head. So it
Yes,
feels less daunting. Mm.
yes, yes, and be friends with the rejection. It's like we're
Mm-hmm.
so, I mean, personally, it's just here. I learned this a couple of months ago. It was like, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to be rejected. It is
Yes.
okay because they'll teach you to do it better. Teach you to do like next, you know, with no attachments to the person that rejected you. It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
you move on. You're like, okay, next, I'm gonna do it
Mm-hmm.
better next time. But it's like rejection is our friend, and it
Mm-hmm.
can only help us to be better. But because the way I'm talking personally, and I know some of my friends and some of the people I work with, they're like, was one of their fears. It's like they don't want to be rejected because that means you're not being loved, and that's all we want. As human
Mm.
beings, we want to be loved. So the fear of rejection is one of the
Really big ones. Yeah.
yeah, really big one. So it's
Mm.
like today I invite you everybody. Like if someone rejects you, it's like, oh cool, next.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
it's
that
like
approach. And I also love the aggressive screaming. Next, let's get into
yes,
it.
you have to teach, but it's like it's part of our like the neural encoding, like reprogram your brain,
Mm-hmm.
reprogram your nervous system to be like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
move on. Next, what can
I,
I
I,
learn
and
from
I,
it and make it better?
yeah, I love that. It's like, oh, it's gonna happen because that's the exact same I say about fear of failure. I see so many
Yes.
coaches saying, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And I'm like, screw that. What would you do if you knew that failing was part of the process? I'm like, you are human. You are going to fail. You're going to screw up. Things are going to happen. But what
Yes.
would you do if you know that's just part and parcel
Yes.
of being a human? What would you do differently if you knew that that's part and parcel of growth? Because as long as you're trying something new that you haven't done before, the probability of failing is pretty high. Your probability
Yes.
of failing is pretty high. So
Yes.
yeah. And this is coming from someone who has failed aggressively. I've failed aggressively in my life. I remember it was oh God, what was the year? I think it was 2017 or 2018. So well, going into 2018, it was New Year's Eve, or as us Bajans call it, Old Year's Night. Call it Old Year's Night, not New
Oh,
Year's Eve. Um, and I was in London. I was with my best friend, and we were sat on the sofa, and we were talking about resolutions, which I don't normally do. I don't normally do resolutions. And then he said a resolution, and I was like, stolen. That is now my resolution. And what he said was, this year, I am going to try to make more mistakes. This year, I'm going to try. And I thought, that is so brilliant. I'm going to try to make more mistakes because you're only going to make mistakes if you're doing something you haven't done before. If you're challenging yourself, if you're stretching, if, as you said, we're dancing outside our comfort zone, if you're putting yourself out there, if you're feeding the fear and doing it anyway, that's when you're going to make mistakes. And I remember that year in particular, and I take it with me now. Listen, Carla, the way I was making mistakes, yeah, I was just, as we say, left, right, and center. Launched a course, no one signed up. Sweated my way through, a LinkedIn live, just, send letters and got rejected. And I would tell him that. And at the time, I'd just be like, and his response always was, oh, you're crushing your resolution. You are crushing your resolution. And he would get so excited for me, like,
ah,
yes,
oh, you
yes,
were.
you're failing, you're making mistakes. And that really is an approach that I encourage, because once you
Wow.
do that, the moment you realize that the mistakes and the failures don't define you,
Mhm.
and also the moment you realize that the mistakes and failures don't break you, that's when your trust and your belief in what you can handle also skyrockets.
That's beautiful. Say it one more time. Please say it one more time for our
Oh,
audience
geez.
right now.
All right. Okay, write this down. Wait, what did I say, Paula? I
uh,
said the moment you realize that your perceived failures and mistakes don't
don't-
define you, and the moment you realize that your perceived failures and mistakes don't break you, that's when your trust in yourself and what you can handle drastically skyrockets.
Yes, yes. That means you grab courage with a smile and you say, "Here I go."
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Yes, we're out here.
Yes. Now let's move to confidence. I know you talk a lot about confidence in your training. So
Mm-hmm.
could you please define confidence in your terms?
Confidence at its very core is a belief in yourself and what you're capable of. That really is what confidence is. So we talk about self-confidence because we're talking about self-belief. So confidence is grounded in your beliefs and your belief systems. And we all have beliefs that we carry with us, whether consciously or subconsciously, about ourselves, about the world around us, about other people. And these beliefs can be formed, from a whole host of things, from childhood experiences, from, our parents. A lot of beliefs are cultural as well, and we carry those beliefs with us. And what it really does, it shows up in our life in terms of the actions that we're willing to take and the outcomes that we see. So that's what a belief, and in terms of what actual belief is, a belief really is something that you believe to be true. I use belief twice. My primary school teacher is like, you can't define a word by using the word again. A belief is something that you know to be true, that you know or feel to be true. That really is essentially what a belief is. So if I give you one of my examples, and this was a subconscious belief, I was starting my business. So everyone, let me start here. So when people see me, they tend to see like, the bright energy, the bright hair, the bright lipstick, the brighter personality, but it really wasn't always that way. And when I started my business, I was so scared of, can this actually work? Who do I think I am? And I got to work with a coach to figure out what my beliefs were, because I didn't understand this. What people talk about limiting beliefs, you see these phrases being thrown around. At that point, I had never even heard of a limiting belief. And through doing this deeper work of uncovering stuff, stories is the stuff that I mean, I recognized that I had this belief about myself that I wasn't enough, that I wasn't smart enough. Mind you, first degree, master's with distinction. I can't tell you how many scholarships, from intern to assistant to executive, senior executive in 9 months. My last job got promoted to head of the department, within like actually 9 months as well. There's no evidence to underpin that belief that I'm not smart enough. But the thing about beliefs are, they don't have to be grounded in any facts for you to believe that they're true. Let me say that again. I don't know how many people are live. I don't know if you see this on this platform, but I was like, let me just repeat that in any case. Beliefs don't have to be grounded in any facts for you to think and feel as if they're true. So what that meant was, when it was time for me to start my business, I had this, I was struggling with putting myself out there. And then I realized, oh, it's because I think that I'm not smart enough. Zero evidence, zero evidence. But it didn't stop me from thinking and feeling and acting in a particular way. So that really is, when we're talking about confidence and developing confidence, essentially what we're looking at is rewriting the stories we have about ourselves, about who we are, what we're capable of, what's possible for us, and what we deserve. Because when you're able to rewrite the stories that you tell yourself about who you are, your expectations of what's going to happen and the actions that you're willing to take have no choice but to also automatically change. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. So,
Mm.
did you ever find out when you adopted that limiting belief when you were a baby?
Let me get a sip for this, Paula, because yes. So, oh, you're having a sip too. So that belief stemmed from growing up in Okay, let's just get into all of the juice. That belief stemmed from growing up in Barbados in the 80s, telling my age, in the 80s. And if you had met me in September, as in last September, I had locks. That's the picture that you used for this, Paula. I had locks like down to past my knees. So growing up in the 80s, there were maybe about, I would say, like 4 families in Barbados that had children that had locks. So it wasn't popular in terms of how Afro hair and Afro texture and embracing your natural hair and the crown nat in the States, for example. It wasn't popular back then when I was, I had them from the time I was a little girl, from the time I was like 4 years old in primary school. And what happened is I used to get picked on a lot. I used to get picked on, and I used to get teased, and I used to get followed in stores. It was like dirty this, dirty that, and all of these bullying essentially, and from adults as well. But when I was at school, when I felt excluded, when I felt as if I didn't fit in, and when I felt as if I didn't belong, what I always fell back on was my intelligence. You can call me Dirty Makeda, but I'm smarter than every single one of you kids in here. So what happened at a very young age was, listen, I'm giving you all of my business. What happened at a very young age was I started to link my self-worth to my intelligence, achievements, and intelligence and achievements. And what happens to the little girl who in primary school at 9-year-old thinks that her worth and her deservedness is linked to how smart she is? Well, she takes that same approach with her into work, into her career. And then it's not only how smart you are, but how much you achieve, how many degrees you have, did you get promoted, how much money that you make. So that's really where it started from. And being able to break that link was one of the most powerful things I've ever done for myself, because it freed me of expectations. It freed me of a need to have to prove myself. And it allowed me to recognize, as Melissa Frederick says, I am enough as is, without change, without exception.
Love that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
I find it fascinating, that we adults are still dealing with limiting beliefs, because they're limiting us, beliefs that we adopted on survival mode, survival mode. And here we are in our adult age, still, dealing with the fear of success, fear of failure, fear of not having enough or not being enough. And you got to do more, you got to do more, you got to do more. But you don't, it's beautiful whenever you untangle, is that how you say, like you unchain that why you're doing something that is not truly fulfilling you, but you're doing it because you want to feel accepted, you want to fit in, you want to belong. So I better get I better get to work and do something about it. So thanks for sharing.
Yes. And not only that, we oftentimes, when we are unhappy with something in our lives, or we want something to change, very often what we focus on is the action. So, let me try harder. As you know, who's watching, that's team try harder. Let me try harder. Let me manage my time better. Let me stop procrastinating. Let me just focus and settle down. All of those things really are nothing but symptoms. The problem isn't the action. The root problem comes from your beliefs, because your beliefs inform your actions. Your beliefs inform your actions. If you want to tell me who you are, I can just look at what you do. Like I like to say, share a joke like, oh, did I tell you about the time that I ran the London Marathon in 2017? You're like, no, that's because I did it. I'm not gonna. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna put myself for something that I don't believe that I am not gonna do. So your beliefs inform your actions. So what you believe about yourself informs what you are willing to do. that make sense? Yeah.
Yes,
It
yes.
informs what you're winning. So instead of shifting the action, the game changer, the absolute game changer is to unearth the beliefs, because there are some that we are aware of that are right there at the surface. But for the majority of us, and I say us, there are some deep rooted ones that we don't even recognize are causing us to shrink, settle, and play small in some area of our lives.
Thank you for sharing. Yes,
Mm.
you said it beautifully. How could you invite our viewers today to cultivate confidence?
Mm. Look at your beliefs. That really is the root of it. The root of it is, you know, even if working on by yourself, you're only able to pick up on or shine a light on the top level ones that you are aware of. That's still really useful to understand. So maybe ask yourself, okay, what is it that I believe about myself? What is it that I believe about others, particularly in relation to yourself? And what is it that I believe about the world? And that's a super great starting point. What is it that you believe? And then what you can ask yourself is, how is that affecting how I'm showing up? So that's kind of the real starting point. Because when it comes to any kind of transformation, the starting point has to be awareness. Yeah. So the
Oh,
starting
yes.
point needs to be awareness. So what is it that I'm believing? Like I delivered training recently for 30 black solicitors rather, in London. And you know, they talked about that at the top of their head was, oh, I believe I'm better at technical skills versus soft skills. And then another half of them were like, I believe I'm better at soft skills than technical skills. Yeah. So it's just like, okay, well, if this is what you believe when it comes to how you're showing up for yourself in your career and beyond, when you're looking at your confidence, how is that currently affecting you? And if you're able, not if, when you're able to articulate that, what that should do is to spur you on to start making changes or get help to change these stories that you're telling yourself. Because if you're able to say, my beliefs are causing me to not seize opportunities, it's causing me to settle and shrink, it's causing me to really not even come close to scratching the surface of my potential, then what's at stake if you continue thinking that? You with me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So
Mhm.
awareness, yes, awareness.
Awareness. Awareness.
Yeah. It
Best
brings
starting
to
point.
my mind. I was working with a client,
Mm.
and her belief was that she didn't receive love when she was growing up. That's her belief. She was stuck. Like that's
That's a
her
big
belief.
one. That's a
That's a
big
big
one.
one.
Mhm.
Yes. So, we worked through it, and she was able to remember her dad's love. Look, like affection.
Mhm.
So that was a win. But yeah, there's people, adults, that were walking around with beliefs that are hurting us. So yeah, get a
Mhm.
coach. Get a coach for
Get a
those.
coach. And I love that you
Yes.
said that, because you highlighted the other key thing about beliefs is she was able to change them. She was
Yes.
able to change them. So
She,
just because that's a beautiful thing about beliefs is that they can change and evolve over time. I'm sure we can all think of something that we used to believe was true at one point in time. Santa Claus. We can all think of something that we used to believe was true that we no longer believe. So our beliefs can change. So I love that you use that example, because that's where the transformation is. When I say about rewriting your stories, what essentially that is changing your beliefs about
yes,
yourself and who you are. Yeah.
definitely. It's just is and it's life changing once
Mm.
she
Right.
realized that there was affection, then is like her
Mm-hmm.
whole belief system changed, and she's able to move forward. So yes. Uh what are some of the future projects you're working on?
Future projects. Listen, okay. 2022. It feels like if it's coming down to an end so quickly, Paula.
I
Um,
know.
right. Listen, where's this year gone? I'm not wishing it away though. So for the rest of this year, I am focusing very heavily on doing a number of speaking engagements as well as corporate workshops. So actually, if there are any organizations or any companies or associations or networks who are looking to see a transformation in your employees and members in terms of developing the belief, bravery, and brilliance to show up in a way that not only impacts them, but positively impacts the organization's outcome, results, and performance, get in touch. Get in touch.
Yes. And
Yeah.
Makeda has a beautiful sense of humor. It's like, I love your sense of humor. So natural. And
I be
you and
joking.
I are going to be sharing a stage next week, I think, the 31st, I think. So we're going
Oh,
to do a
yes, we
speaking
are.
engagement
Yes.
together. Yes,
Yes,
yes, I'm
yes.
excited for that one.
So a lot of speaking, and there's something coming up as well that I might start teasing on LinkedIn and Facebook actually over the next week. Something super exciting because people give me feedback and I'm like, okay, I hear you. And especially, this is the time of the year when we start thinking like, what have I done? Like, what did I
Yeah.
say I was going to do for 2022, but I didn't do? And what support can I get to actually get things in action rather than being like, new year, new me. How about this year, this you? Let's make a change. Yeah.
Yes. Where can they find you?
So they can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Makeda Alleyne. You can see it right there on the screen in terms of the spelling. And that's where I share, particularly LinkedIn, the majority of my content and videos. And in terms of what I share, really it's all around inspiration, information, and implementation. I want to inspire you to change. I want to give you information in terms of how to actually get there. And the implementation really is, some accountability, like this is what it's going to actually take to make the transformation. So those are the main social media handles that I'm on.
Now that you talk about accountability, let's share to our audience how important it is to have an accountability group or accountability person that can allow you to to be there for you to finish your projects, or to me it's a huge uh
It,
it's a blessing to
it
have accountability group.
is everything. I'll be honest, personally, I don't think I ever truly appreciated the power of accountability, not just with a single coach, because I've done a lot of one-to-one coaching, but of an accountability group. So what Paula is alluding to is that she is part of my accountability group. We are in the same accountability
Yeah.
group. And the power of it is, there's this wonderful quote by Sidney Poitier that says, something interesting happens when you go for a walk with other people. Either you adjust to their pace or they adjust to yours. So it's like, whose pace have you adjusted to? So being surrounded by other people with their own divine assignments and callings, with their own purpose, and who aren't just looking, let me say this, who have visions that are so big and bold and beautiful and brave, audacious, that it's like, okay, we are out here. We are out here. Because how often do we fall into the trap of saying we're going to do something, get started and get excited, and then life starts lifing? Hello. And that is hello. Life
Yes.
starts lifing. Everything starts happening. And then before you know it, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years have passed and nothing has changed. So there is such power in having people there that are just like, okay, well, you committed to doing this every month. Like, where are you now? And just sharing advice and tips. This is what's working for me. This isn't working for me. And I
Mm-hmm.
said a bit of a sneak peek is I've done a lot of one-to-one coaching with my clients, but that accountability has been so powerful for me that I'm looking at bringing back the group programs for individuals who want to have I call it a container and actually not tribe. People use that word so much in this space, a container of other like-minded people who are excited and determined about meeting the best version of themselves. Yeah.
Yes. A community. You
Yes, a
build them
community.
a community
A community.
that you're growing in order for you to have a ripple effect. And what I mean by a ripple effect is like the greater good. Like
Yes.
you're doing something for the greater good that's gonna have a
Mm-hmm.
ripple effect. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
it's not just gonna impact you, the ones you live with and those that you coach, you work with, and because
Mm-hmm.
of that, then they are gonna be able to empower and help those around them. So it is a ripple effect. And a
Yes.
lot of people are, are seeking for that community, for like-minded people. It's like, let's gather up to create better
Mm-hmm.
things and stop, criticizing and talking things that we should not be talking, deteriorating
Yeah.
other people. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, no, no. It's like, it's totally opposite. It's like, let's gather up and see what you learn that I can, that I can use and we just share. And if you need help, then
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, I've done that before. Let me email it to you. Or I've done that before. It's just a
Yes.
beautiful, yeah, yeah. It's like creating a
Yeah.
beautiful community that
A movement. We're
a
creating a
movement.
movement of people. A movement of people who want that for themselves as well. Yeah.
Yes. Did
100%.
do you have a last message you would like to leave our audience with?
Hmm. I think my last message would be a challenge. So the thing I would want to leave your beautiful, amazing audience with is a challenge to show up and show out for yourself and the type of life you deserve. A challenge to step up in a way that you've never stepped up before. A challenge to see the box that society has put you in and decide to step out of it and dance outside of your comfort zone. A challenge to step into your power, potential, and possibility and experience the insane pride, joy, and fulfillment that comes as a result.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you all for being here
Thank you,
today.
Paula.
Please watch the replay on my YouTube channel or on my Facebook. Thank you all for being here. Blessings to you all. This show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Bye.
Thank you, Paula.